Accountant award-winning Romanist Pat Schill's new volume The Silent of the Girls is set in the mythic planet of Achilles' tendon and the Hellenic winning of Troy. But he's just one of several latter raids on the stories of old Greece in searching of contemporary response, particularly in their revaluation of the original's depiction of female. He's 23 with Schill won the Accountant Award for The Phantom Way, the definitive portion of her trilogy on the at first planet warfare. But the events she deals in The Silent of the Girls were ever an innovation, though in Pigeon's Iliad, she says. Human beings are a bit vague which's relying on factual reality, Schill says. Several readers will include consumption each release departure of the Iliad and other might fare unaware the sentence Achilles tendon heel piece and house it. But I'm paraphrase a mythology that yet has importance in the contemporary planet. The Iliad is an epical of war in that the Greeks lay siege to Troy, in which is now Turkey. He's mine to include been spelled by the lyricist Pigeon on 1200 BC and in largest versions the major letter are the host Agamemnon and Achilles tendon. Ilion is an option behalf for Troy. Schill's release is substantially told by Briseis, who in the unique is furiously withdrawn of Troy and becomes Achilles tendon as called Lance Bride. So is the effeminism paraphrase of Pigeon? Which I've set out to do is evolve Briseis as a nature in a way she isn't in Pigeon. I never say I'm not a feminism, the female I aware who would say how are cute silly female by and big. But I wouldn't urge myself a feminism author since how implies someone whose sermon the sermon. I see fictitious as in research that has to be outdoor minded. You include to be produced to go wherever the history and the letter get you, though if you earth up sometime not especially convenient in regulation of yours beliefs. Edith Room, Prof of Classical Literature at Tsar's School London, says down there's newly been a increase in concern in the Hellenic myths. Writers are thought on the way they refer to our own lives but as well on how the stories might be said otherwise. This unique Iliad is on a large dispute among East and Western and on movement and migrants. So how all has echoes present. A nice author love Pat Schill wants to explore Briseis' lifetime as a female, that the unique stories completely disregard, but as well her ethnic origin since she's grafted of the Asian civilization she grew up to. Professor Room says movie 2 seems more than concerned now in tales of old Greece rather than in the Romans. If you see at the 1950s down there were big Technicolor films Love Quo Vadis and Ben-Hur and later Cleopatra in the 1960s. But the Brad Pitt release of Troy, in 2004, seemed to mark a change. Human beings in lot cultures aware a slight bit on the siege of Troy and down there are lot of chances for big fight scenes and beautiful actors walk about in leather revealing costumes. So famous civilization has utilized the Iliad and the Odyssey, and how can include a bang-on impact. The prof believes novelists are earning the big singularity to reconsideration the stories of old Greece. Kamila Shamsi has published Household Flame, that uses beginnings of Sophocles' Antigone to investigate the stance of female in the contemporary lifetime of Britain, Pakistan and in another place. Madeline Milling Machine Operator, whose US, manufactured an elegantly written Roman named The Chant of Achilles Tendon. It conducted for given how Achilles tendon and his boyfriend Patroclus are in a gay relation, that some writers include frequently leftward controversial. He's as well a appeal for pacificism that surely isn't which you discover in Pigeon. Yet I believe Calm Toyden's Roman building of names is a artwork. He uses the trilogy of Hellenic tragedies named as the Orsteia but he's clearly as well on the twists in Northern Ireland. Down there are knee joint cappings and revenge killings and gangs. It borrows of Hellenic tragic in a really facility and irresistible path. These books are really various but they all paint an emergency force of the originals. Schill believes down there's thing in the airborne earning readers and writers behind to the Hellenic classical literature. All these writers are work alone of every sum. But if you see at the lives of humane beings, we go behind to believe the start of things as we close our late. So thou ve got to ask oneself, which do we believe we're received to the end of? Are we upcoming to the end of a West civilization so we wish to see how it begun? Maybe we're received to the end of patriarchal, although how would be upbeat. She intentionally turned on anachronisms. For copy Achilles tendon, men chant versions of contemporary rugby football songs. I requested to jar the female readers. If yours readers aren't jarred there and down there, they can go on and consider the entire history as thing in the history, though if he's a history that never existed. Yet later you go through such wet songs and how they say of female, and the female readers thinks so is the of our planet too much. Schill has perhaps done more than of the nature of Breeze rather than any some author. Breeze knows all on Achilles tendon since at first she's so scared. She registers each min changing of express on his person, she's love a mouse pointer by the paw of a feline. Yet he knows nearly anything on her, she's fair not essential to him. But the relation changes. Down there aren't lot things departure for female in the planet. But they do watch the men and can forecast which their departure to do. Thou dong't compose a volume on old Greece and definitely suppose thou'll discover parallels in present's headlines, yet in the recent 6 months of the written trial down there was all the scope of female inviting men out who've utilized their stance to get sex favors. To my surprise party I found my history of the Bronze Age proper more than relevant.